Hey Bina, so here are some instructions on how to take your weaving off the loom. So if you look here, these two warp threads are single threads, so we're gonna need to match them up to the one beside it. So I'm just gonna pull this one right off the peg right here, and then I'm gonna pull the one beside it, and I'm gonna knot these together. And you're just gonna go ahead and do that all the way across. So I'm gonna do the next one, and I'm just doing it by itself because this one isn't single, it's a pair. So see how on that peg, it's got two strings coming down from it, whereas this one only has one string coming down from it. So I'm gonna go ahead and knot this one as well. And I'll go all the way across doing that. And sorry, I don't know if you can see, so I'm just basically taking this and I'm just doing an overhanded knot. So I'm just kind of pulling this in, and then I'm keeping my fingers close to the weaving here and just pulling up so that that knot is right on top of my weaving. So if you don't get it right on top like that, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I just try, oh, look what I did. I just try to get it as close as I can. And I'm just gonna go ahead and knot this one to the one beside it. Okay, great. So once I get to this place, I'm just gonna go ahead and take my weaving and I'm gonna pull it straight up off of my loom. So now I'm done with my loom and I've got my weaving here. If you take it and go ahead and turn it over, you'll have a couple strings here at the bottom that you'll need to tuck in. So you can just take your tapestry needle and just go ahead and tuck those in. I like to go ahead and thread them through a couple of these bottom strings right here. And then I thread it up through a couple of these strings. And usually then I'll just go ahead and knot that and trim it. And I'll do the same thing with the one on the other side. Put it through a couple of these. Knot it and then trim it. So once I do that, I'm going to want to hang my weaving on a dowel. So the way that I like to do it is I'll take it and I'll turn it around so that the top of it is facing me, and you've got all of these strings here. Now with these strings, you can either, I like to tuck them into the back of it. It's not a big deal if you don't, because your dowel will hide them. So if you want to just trim them, you can take it, and if you want to, you can trim it and then knot it around your dowel. You can do that. I like to just go ahead and tuck them in here and then attach it to my dowel with another string. And you don't have to use one like this is an open-ended one. You can just use a wood dowel if you want. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do that. So when we're tucking them in, I'm just tucking them into a couple of these threads down here, a couple of your weaving rows. And then I pull it through, and then I'm just gonna leave that for right now. I'll trim that later. I'm going to do that with all of them all the way across. And if you haven't done it already, because I know you said you are having issues with finishing it, make sure that before you take your weaving off the loom, if you've already taken off, that's okay. It's not a big deal. You want to make sure that you're tucking in all of those strings from the side that you were weaving with, all of like your loose ends. I didn't know if you saw that part in the book, so I just wanted to go ahead and mention that. If you've already taken it off and you haven't done that, that's okay. It's no big deal. Just go ahead and do that. You can see here like how I've tucked some of those in and I've knotted some of them together. The back gets pretty messy, and that's okay. That happens to all weavers, so don't worry about it. And almost done with this. And so I'll go ahead and do the last one here. And sometimes if you have one that's knotted, you might have difficulty pulling it through. You can just snip it right below the knot and then pull it through, and it will come through a lot easier. Just like that. So that's done. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the dowel. So what I'll do, I just have another little bit of yarn right here that I'm using to put it on the dowel. I'll thread my needle. Sorry, this is my first time filming a video for someone. And then I'm gonna take my needle and I'm going to start threading this underneath my dowel. So I'm going to take it at first and I'm going to go underneath my dowel, and I'm going to thread it underneath this first knot right here. So there's a little space underneath that knot, and that's where I'm going to be threading it. If you have a hard time doing that and if you kind of can't get it, it's okay if you even thread it through your weaving. That's okay too. So I'll thread it underneath, and then I'm going to take it and I'm going to go back over my dowel. I'm going to do that same thing all the way across. So I'll thread it underneath, kind of keep this over there out of my way. See how I'm making a mess? Okay. And I'll thread underneath, pull it through, just like I did before. Thread underneath, pull it through, go back over. So I'm going to do this all the way across. And like I said, you could use a wood dowel for this, and you can get those like even like at Michael's and Joann's. You could even use like a twig or a branch that's like, you know, falling off a tree in your backyard. You could do that. You can really just hang it from any thing that you're able to attach it to. Okay, cool. So I've gotten to the last one. Once I get to the last one, I usually will go ahead and just loop it around 1 or 2 more times. I'm going to do this one twice. And then once I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and knot it to this string right here. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I usually just will put my needle through and then come back and just knot it onto itself. Oh, just like that. And I'll usually go ahead and just do a double knot. Then I'm gonna snip my excess there. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this through to get rid of my slack. And then I'm gonna snip this here and do the same thing on this other side. So I'm just gonna thread this through one more time. Good. And then I'm gonna knot it onto itself. And then normally, since this dowel is howl, so it's not solid, it's howl, so I can like put something through it. Normally I'll just kind of thread my string to hang it through there. But since you might be using like a wood dowel, I'm gonna show you also how you can just make a little hanging string for it. So now that we've done that, see, our weaving is attached to the dowel. It's secure. I'm gonna trim this excess right here. So do that, do that, do that. And then just to make a hanging string, you'll just take another piece of yarn and you can kind of go ahead and just make a little circle and cross it back over the piece. Go ahead and loop that around like I'm doing here and just knot it. And then do the same thing on the other side. So I'm crossing it over, looping it around it, and then I'm just knotting it onto itself. So got kind of like two little loops on each side. And then I'll just take that, and you can actually, once you attach it to the dowel like this, if you see, I can take that knot and I can pull that excess through and it will just go taut to the dowel. And then you've got a string to hang it with, just like that. So I hope that helps you. I know that was a very long video. That was the first video I ever made. So let me know if you have any questions, okay? All right.